Kara Shalom, welcome to our watercolor journey. We are going to paint an atmospheric landscape with a farmhouse. The video is not so much about the process as about the use of warm and cool colors to bring depth into your painting. The materials used are listed in the description below. We are painting on Arch Cold Press 100% cotton, and the brushes are an Art Secret 1-inch Squirrel Mix flat brush, an Art Secret No. 10 Sable travel brush, a Rosemary Co No. 3 Kolinsky Sable round, and a Rosemary Co No. 0 Sable blend rigger. You will also need some salt, and you might want to use a spray bottle. The paints we will use are Cobalt Blue, Cadmium Yellow, Alizarin Crimson, Raw Sienna, Burnt Umber, and Neutral Tint. The green mixes are made from Cobalt Blue and Cadmium Yellow, and a warmer green from Cobalt Blue and Raw Sienna. To make it easier to place your elements, it is always good to make a sketch first. Planning your painting is very important. Sometimes one wants to just put paint on paper, but sketching your idea first will help you to feel more confident in what you want to paint. So here we have the sketch for this video. There are some hills in the background, then a few bushes on the left with a farmhouse. There is a path that leads from the house to the foreground, and then some bushes on the right with a few trees. You can adjust the sketch to your liking, and don't be afraid to make the pencil lines nice and clear. Most of them will be covered by the paint. If your sketch is too dark for you, you can use a kneadable putty eraser and roll it lightly over your sketch to lift out the excess graphite. If you're not familiar with using a spray bottle, then use the brush from the start to wet the paper. You want to keep the house white, so you can mask it out or you can paint around it. Spray the paper with some water, but take care to spray around the house. Then use your brush to spread the water evenly into the paper. Try to avoid creating puddles. Once your paper is thoroughly wet, you can start with the sky. Use a large brush and add raw sienna just above the mountain line. Spread it lightly into the wet area above the mountain. Rinse the brush and then add cobalt to the top of the sky. The paints will blend into each other, but the cobalt is the cool color and the raw sienna is the warm color. So the horizon part will come forward, and the cold blue color, the sky part, will move more to the back. Add a little bit of neutral tint for cloud shadows. This will also blend into the existing layer to give you a bit of variation in the sky. Now rinse the brush again and add some cobalt just below the mountain ridge. Add in a little bit of the green mixes and a touch of cadmium yellow. The blue will give some distance, and the warmer yellow will bring some areas more to the front. You can add a tiny bit of neutral tint to the ridge of the mountain. Dab in some burnt umber and then a little bit of alizarin crimson. All these colors will bring variety to an otherwise bland background. Always keep a light touch. You want to add the paint, but allow it to spread as naturally as possible. Continue with the middle ground by adding touches of green, blue, and yellow to create the bushes next to the house. Do the same with the bushes on the other side. If you want to let some of the bushes come forward, add some of the warmer colors like burnt umber or raw sienna. The blues and greens will let them recede. Here you don't have to clean the brush each time. Picking up the colors with a used brush here will create interesting color variations. Now you can use these colors to extend your foreground. Be careful around the house though. Remember, you want to keep it white. Add some more color to the immediate foreground to build a base for the salt, which you will use in a while. Add some shadows to the trees in the background with neutral tint. Don't rinse the brush. Use what is on the brush to add color to the rest of the middle ground. You can add a bit of texture by splattering some blue, raw sienna and burnt umber in the foreground. Again, the cold blue and the warmer raw sienna and burnt umber will give you some depth. Then get ready to sprinkle some salt. Your paper shouldn't be too wet. Wait a bit until the shine is off. Then you can sprinkle salt on the foreground area. Try to concentrate most of the sprinkles on either side of the path. Then let the painting dry thoroughly. Water down a bit of neutral tint for the roof of the house. Use a smaller brush if you need to. Mix in a bit of blue and then burnt umber to give the roof some interest. You don't want a flat grey color. Make sure that the paint also isn't too watery. You are now painting wet on dry. The smaller part of the roof is in shadow, so add a bit more blue and neutral tint here. Draw a thin, broken line with neutral tint underneath the roof in the front of the house. Use neutral tint to lightly draw in suggestions of the windows. Add some raw sienna and greens to the base of the house for some bushes. You can also now extend this layer of bushes to the left and to the right of the house. Enhance the mountain with some blues, greens and yellows. Add a touch of red here and there and use some water to spread the paint. The hard edge created here will let the mountain stand out against the horizon. Add brighter green and yellow to the bush just behind the house to the right. This will separate it from the mountain. Extend the greens towards the foreground. This will tie the areas in your painting together. Use the bigger brush for the rest of the foreground. You will add a next layer here so you can wet the paper or use a more watery mix of paint. You can add more shadows to the house and then define the path with a shadow line. Add some green and raw sienna to the path. Make your brush strokes in the direction of the flow of the path. Use the belly of the brush for the grass next to the path. This will help you to define the path a little bit more. For more individual stalks, you can use the tip of the brush. Here you can also add all of the colors from your palette for variety. The salt has created some texture, so try to preserve the salt patches if you can. Use the rigger or a thin brush to draw spindly trees next to the house. These trees should be light in color and the lines should be quite thin as they are in the background and should not be too prominent. Line the path with some more grass. This side should be a bit more defined as it is closer to the viewer. To balance your composition, you can add a tree next to the path. Mix a bit of neutral tint and burnt umber for the tree. The house is the focal point of this painting, so even though the tree is more in the foreground, it should not detract from the house. Keep it simple and unobtrusive. You can glaze the immediate foreground with some cadmium yellow to warm it up a bit. Then use the belly of the brush and some of the brown mix that you made for the tree to add a few more bushes to the left. This will harmonize the two sides of your painting. Warm and cool colors can create quite a variety in your painting, and it can help to give your painting more dimension, depth and interest. So try them out. Vary the different colors. It really will make a difference. Please help us to keep the channel going by subscribing and press like to keep the channel in the YouTube feed. We really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to see you again soon. Vaya con Dios.